recording. So hi everyone, those of you who are watching live and those of you who are watching the recording. If you cannot attend live, if you had a job, class, was still sleeping or already sleeping, welcome to you as well. So we have a company introduction webinar for Differ.Chat. So it's a company that participated in Xculture last year, but as many companies, it's developing very dynamically, and so there have been some changes, some developments, and so we wanted to do another webinar just to catch up on those things. And so here we have the company founder and the CEO. What is your official title? So founder, manager?
Oh yeah, I'm Lars. That's my
Lars. All right.
That's my title.
So Lars, we would like to ask you to
formally
tell us a little bit about the company in general first, and then I do have some questions sent to us by students who could not attend the meeting, so they sent us by email. It seems like we have, oh no, those are just comments in the chat. So students, if you do have questions, you can put them in Q&A or in the chat window. And then I did prepare a few questions for from myself as well. As I was reading the challenge, I wanted to clarify a few things. Okay. So, but can you give us a kind of a general overview of the company
first of all, let me just introduce myself briefly. So I'm Lars. I'm based in Oslo, in Norway. Born and raised in Sweden.
Oh, you're from Sweden, but you live in Norway.
That's correct.
That's something I didn't realize. Okay.
Yeah, I quite early. For some reason, got interested in international collaboration. It must have been something my parents did. But I really liked learning languages, and was also.
How many do you speak?
Sorry.
How many languages do you speak?
Currently, I don't speak that many. I haven't practiced that much recently, but I have studied Chinese, and I lived in China for half a year, and living in Brazil for half a year. So I picked up a couple of phrases here and there. Yeah, I just want to say that I really connect with the purpose here behind Xculture, and I think it's fantastic that all of you students have chosen to do this international collaboration, and especially in this time of in Europe, we're facing the risk of war in Ukraine at the moment, and I just believe strongly in the global mission of bringing people together, collaborating and developing empathy for each other and understanding. So I think this is just such a marvelous project, and I'm really happy that so many of you have chosen to work with Differ. Differ is a small Norwegian company that did learn about the student experience, and that so many students already before COVID found themselves in isolation and faced loneliness, not connecting well with each other in the student community, not finding like-minded people, not finding that peer support network of classmates that could help each other when things get tough ahead of exams and those stressful times of the year. So basically the social sides of university life is what Differ is focusing on. Yeah, I was so pleased to work with the students last semester, and we learned a lot about how students in different countries experience the transition to university. So for many students, kind of becoming a student is a major transition in life. And many leave their existing social networks, their family and friends at home, and some might even move to a different city and perhaps doesn't know anyone. And some even go to a different country have even higher barriers to connect with other people in that situation, having those cultural and language barriers. So I have started to call myself an explorer of human connections and community, because I think these interactions we're having with each other in a community, even though we might be strangers, is so important, and we need to challenge this, if you'd like, a cultural norm about that it's dangerous to talk to strangers. In some cultures, at least, parents are teaching their kids that it's dangerous to talk to strangers, and I think we miss a lot if we do that. Sorry, I'm noticing I'm just freestyling here a bit today.
No, but that's
but I hope
perfectly fine.
this
So it
gives
gives us
a good context, and
Yeah.
why I believe personally that that the Differ mission is something worthwhile, and it's also connected with the
Exactly.
X-Culture mission of bringing people together.
And the best companies are always the ones that start sort of with trying to solve a problem. And as you put it, being on campus for many students, it's the first time being away from home. This is the beginning of the new adult life. My son will be going to college in a few months. And so obviously, I'm also very worried about whether or not he will be able to find his community, friends, adjust to the campus life. So that's a big question. So, but then tell us about your product. So what exactly does it do? How does it solve the problem?
Yeah, so I think traditionally a lot of universities have tried to use Facebook, for example, and the Facebook groups to invite students and hoping for them to connect with each other. Of course, many are organizing different types of social events on campus when people join, and that's great. But these kind of traditional solutions to the social challenge of building community still face the fact that so many students are not connecting well with each other. So we believe there's so much potential in stronger connections. I think the first thing that Differ does well is to, in partnership with the university, try to establish a safe space for students to start connecting online, where it's where data privacy is well protected, and also that where you're not forced to share too much information about yourself too early to start talking with each other. So just we want to become that first place where everyone goes to start exploring their university community, and then it's about how do we lower the barriers for students to become active participants in the community. And when you first get accepted to university, I think of course you want to find a best friend, but that social goal might be a little bit too high initially. So I think students want someone to say hi to in class, or students want someone to have lunch with the first day, or just someone to say hi to. So that those initial acts of curiosity and is what Differ want to empower and enable the students to break the ice with each other, if you'd like. So the ice breaking part is something that I believe is missing in many other kind of chat and community solutions. We're actually having a quite cool innovation in that part, because we are using something we call a social chatbot. So that is, if you'd like, a small robot living in your
And that's
on your
exactly
device.
what I wanted to emphasize here. So I was talking to my students who looked at the companies here. And so one of them said, so Differ, is that like Facebook for one specific campus? And so I said, no, it's much more than that. It's not just a place where you meet. It does some things proactively. It uses some artificial intelligence to sort of nudge you into making contact. So can you explain that functionality? Because as I understand, it's not just a WhatsApp group for a campus, not just like a Facebook page for a campus. It's a little bit more than that, right?
Yeah, so that's what we're trying to replace in a way. But we know that just throwing students into a chat group, for example, doesn't automatically need that they get connected with each other. So there is a need for something that will help students break the ice. So in our case, we're training a chatbot to not respond to frequently asked questions, but rather being that cool person on campus, a senior student, basically, if you can imagine this, someone that knows everyone at campus. They just magically, they are really connected and are really super friendly and empathetic with you. And by getting to know this person, that person start connecting you with other amazing people at your university. So it's basically a little bit about that that students dare to build some trust with a chatbot that can act as a social agent, if you'd like, that can connect students in that university community.
Essentially, the bot plays the role of that sort of older, more experienced, good big brother, so to speak, right? Is that the idea?
Yeah, or I think a lot of people meet their first connections at campus in their dorms.
Right.
So yeah, basically someone that lived there the last year and can connect you, can introduce you to everyone.
Huh. Now,
that's kind of what we're envisioning.
So are there any other uses for the program? Again, my understanding is that it's more than just simply helping students find friends on the first day when they arrive to campus, right? I mean, is there some functionality that can be used either in a specific class or for specific events, or maybe later on in the campus life after the students have met some friends and sort of learned their way around the campus?
Yeah, of course. So the tool is more general, but the kind of recommended usage is really for these informal, creating this informal meeting place. So whenever you feel like connecting with someone, or perhaps you want to go to some event or some concert, but you don't have anyone to go with, then perhaps you can go to Differ and connect with some other students, and you can go together. So I believe that's kind of good enough in a way. But we believe that how students also connect with clubs and societies is one area that we're exploring at the moment. So basically, kind of based on your interest that you shared with the chatbot. The name of the chatbot is Bo, by the way. And so Bo can then connect you with people that are members of certain clubs and societies. And many of the leaders of clubs and societies are also saying that Facebook is not working well for them. They're not having a good communication channel with the students in the university, and they have problem recruiting new members to the clubs. So
do European universities also have this, what they call the Greek life, all those fraternities and sororities like the American schools? I never knew. Is that something?
Not to some extent, but not copy paste.
So it's like a different version.
Yeah. So.
but yeah, I can see how they might want to use it as well. So at least,
Yeah.
in the initial stages.
Yeah.
Um,
But it can be used for set up an event community. So if
exactly.
you're hosting an event, you can create a different community, and you invite everyone that is going, and then you can start connecting inside of that community. So that could be kind of a networking effect. And it's also used by some professors as a communication tool in class. But it's we're trying to emphasize the informal peer-to-peer. That's student-student. We almost want to say no to the professors and educators that want to get involved, because sometimes they take over the room and kind of make the communication space feel more formal, and it might become an extra barrier for students to speak freely in a community.
Yep. Now, so I did receive a few questions last time that we didn't address, and I'm sure students might be interested as well. So can you tell us a little bit more about the history of the company? So why did you decide to do it? Why the name Differ? So basically, where did it all started? Like your entrepreneurial journey? Maybe even I'm curious, is this your first company, or have you tried something else before? So just so we know where it all started.
So personally, I think I catched the entrepreneurial bug when I was 10 years old or something. So I always been selling things, and then after university, or while I was still at university, a couple of friends wanted me to join a first tech startup. So in 2008, I started a video platform called Saga Stream. So I guess I slipped into the tech world quite early, and as I moved to Norway,
So did you code, or did you do the
no,
business
I had a
side
business profile. So
okay.
I'm a business. I was a business student, like many of the participants here in X Culture too.
Okay.
But yeah, so I've been involved, started a couple of companies myself, and also been kind of an employee of a couple of early stage companies. Before Differ, I was working in another edtech company called Inspira. So it's one of the leaders of digital assessment. So basically supporting students to write with their computers instead of pen and paper during their exams and assessments. So that was a fun journey with them. But then I came across Differ and the founders, the initial founders. So it actually started as a research and development project together with one of the big universities in Norway. And that university wants to explore the future learning environment. So the learning environment is basically all the different tools and arenas where students learn. And Differ was started as a company to be a kind of a vehicle that could use more modern design principles and experimentation, and also work in collaboration with other institutions in Europe.
This aspect is very important. I was on the committee for my university that was tasked with predicting what the university will look like in the future. So we see not the threat, but competition, I guess, from all these online platforms like Coursera, Udemy, you name it. And then many schools are moving online, and then pandemic messed everything up. And so our leadership wanted to know what the future of universities will look like so we can prepare for it. And so I kind of wish you were on the committee, because it seems like you have some ideas here, because it will be probably partly digital, that future, right? So
absolutely.
Yeah.
But that project was a 5-year project called the Digital Learning Arena. So it was basically looking at how do we get students more active, because that activity is kind of one of the hypotheses that if we can get students active, our results will improve. So there was done a lot of experimentation with social media tools, chat tools like Slack. That was done a massive experiment with that, with 4,000 students trying out, doing one of the earliest experiments with Slack in a university setting.
Yeah, although Slack is more of a kind of project management platform, so I think it does some things, but it definitely doesn't have some of the good functions you have in Differ. Like it doesn't have that AI prompted collaboration, communication, right? Contact.
Yeah, well, it's primarily for co-working, like in a work context. So it's not built for work used in universities and for students. And it's what we noticed was that okay, by implementing some of this, students became a little bit more active. So it was definitely going in the right direction. But then we learned things around the importance of psychological safety.
Sorry, are you saying that you added Differ functionality to Slack? Is that what you did?
No, so but after learning from the Slack experiment, Differ was built originally as a purpose-built Slack.
I see. Okay, I see.
As a course communication platform.
Okay, I see.
But then we learned so much around the importance of psychological safety, and that how, to the extent students are feeling safe in either online or offline setting, that decides on how much they are going to participate in an activity.
Very true.
And one of the how do you get people to feel safe? Well, that starts when people are welcomed into a community and how they develop those early relationships and the early engagement in the community. So there was some insights we got there that pointed us to the fact we need to start building these relationships earlier. And that's why we started looking at pre-induction. So that's basically the period between acceptance letter and that first day at campus. So
that is
the
important.
period
So
where many students are left in the dark.
Yeah, that's very important. So my son did receive the acceptance letters, but
excited. So that's the kind of the period that we think every university really needs to improve, and we need to provide Differ as a solution to give students the chance to build those early connections with other students. And by doing that, students will be reassured about their selection, their choice of going to university, the choice of what they want to study, and they might come the first day to campus with lower shoulders and are more prepared to focus on all the fantastic social activities and all the academic activities that universities already have prepared for the orientation week and so on.
And this part is so important. We are now in the process at my university. So the deadline to apply to the university was, I think, December 15th. And so my son just got accepted, for example, to the UNCG here, my university, but then, many other kids. But then our statistics shows that many of the students who applied and we accepted, they do not come to the university. So they apply to multiple schools, they get accepted to multiple schools, and then they have those few months when they decide which one they want to go to. And you're right, in most of the cases, it's almost like a black hole, or you get that letter, it says congratulations, you fill out maybe some forms, but nothing else happens. And so that creates two problems. One, if another school can start creating experiences for the students right away, the student will go there. And so maybe that's what we should be doing to lure the students who got accepted, at our competing schools. But then also from my point as a student, I mean, not so long ago, I was a student at several universities going through my education. And in all cases, I did not did not have an opportunity and did not know anyone before I arrived on campus. And it drove me really, like, I was so curious to meet someone, who's going to be my roommate, who's going to be other people on campus. I wanted to get to know them. I mean, I'm anxious. I have a few months and nobody offered anything. So I don't know, maybe Differ is a way to do it in a way that, the university doesn't need to hire 200 people to call everyone and run. So that's actually, there may be a huge potential just in that component alone. So in fact, I need to talk to my dean and ask if maybe we should. No, I'm serious. At this time we have thousands of students who have been accepted, hundreds, definitely hundreds just to the business school. And so what my university does, they ask us, the professors, to call the students who are accepted and just talk to them just to show that we're interested in them. But first, professors don't really have time. Second, when an old man calls you and says, hey, congratulations, that's not quite the same thing when you get to know your peers and you start having some fun together. Somebody, Joy here said, yes, growing up, my parents asked me to stay away from strangers for obvious safety reasons. And so I can see how, it may be uncomfortable to initiate that contact, even if you had the contact. So a system like this may allow you to overcome that sort of psychological barrier to feel more safe, but also to just simply have a platform where you can do it. So,
yeah. So I think this is really the time where I think a lot of students can have a lot of impact on the student experience and kind of improve the emotional journey that students go through. So it's too much talk about all the digital fancy stuff. We need to look at more inside of ourselves and inside of students to learn, and we need to empathize with students to learn what they are going through, and then try to design solutions for that.
All right. One very big question. So who pays for the product? So I've had that in several variations asked by the students. So is this the university? Is this the student? Is this somebody else? So what's the business model essentially at this time?
So we're sticking to the business model that we do have now. So it's the university who pays, but I think when you look at a business model literature, our model is described as B2B2C. So it's basically we are working with the university as the stakeholder, our customer, but it's really the student who is the C part in this acronym. But the actual where we want to keep it free for students, because that's an inclusion question. We don't want kind of money to be a reason to not join Differ, because there's all communities need to be more diverse and more inclusive. So that's the whole problem, because when we come to university, we are so anxious and stressed that we are clinging to people that are just like us.
Yeah.
We're looking for similarities, and that will help us develop a level of psychological safety.
Very true.
But we need to move beyond that those initial clicks, the small groups of close friends. So we need to kind of keep an stay open-minded. Most students are open-minded and happy to connect with everyone when they first start university. But once they're getting into it, many tend to close down their circles. And for those who might arrive late to university and miss out on the orientation week, those are having a hard time getting into these circles.
Very true. Very true.
So open-mindedness is crucial here.
Yeah. So then at this time, when you're trying to make a sale, you would be talking to some administrators at the university level, right? So not at the individual student level.
Yeah.
Yeah. And normally, so in your experience, because again, one of the things we're asking students to do is to conduct some interviews friends, but also school administrators to see if they might be interested in using Differ or something similar. So who are normally the people who make that decision? I assume it's not professors, right? So it would be some like IT department or procurement department, or
so I think it normally sometimes it's the student support department. It's different names in different countries too here, and also within countries it's different people having this responsibility. But I think sometimes the admissions office might be the manager of admissions might be interested in making sure that students are well taken care of. Some universities have a manager for orientation week, someone that is really responsible for setting everything up around the orientation week. Some universities have departments for widening participation. Do you have that in the US as well?
And we do all of those, and even in addition, I think most universities have something called like student wellness office or something like that.
Yeah.
And so their job may be actually helping students sort of connect with one another. Although, again, I will not be surprised if it's different in different states, maybe private versus public schools. Private universities are especially because they're for profit, so they need to keep students happy so that they keep coming back and paying money. So they would have a lot of structures on campus specifically for that purpose. So I think that they would be the ones who would be making that decision. But it seems to me just finding out who makes the decision at the university would be one of interesting tasks for the students.
Yeah, absolutely. And I try to point that out a little bit this time. So I think there's certain groups that are at higher risk of not developing these connections and sense of belonging at the university, and those would be students from underrepresented backgrounds, international students, online students. These are all groups that are, how do you say, yearning for more of the social experience.
Exactly.
So that might be people in charge of welcoming international students, might be someone that are willing and able to invite students, set up a community and invite students on Differ. But it's a kind of a complex. It's complex to sell to universities. So.
Yeah. Now we're talking mostly about universities, but do you envision the program to be used by, for example, high schools or some other pre-college institutions?
We think it might be a little bit tougher there because of this kind of some safeguarding concerns.
Right, yeah, younger.
So
how about employees of larger companies? Again, like when you look at companies, I'll just use a few that everyone knows, like Facebook or Google. I mean, these are gigantic campuses with thousands of people, or even maybe some sort of manufacturing or, like any other big company. Do you think they might be interested? I mean, they welcome a lot of employees every year.
Yeah, it's it could be. We haven't really tried it out, and I know there's in that enterprise market, there's the competition is a little bit different there as well. I mentioned Slack before. There is some social apps that you can add to Slack that will try to break the ice between team members inside of companies. So I'm not sure that's the right direction for Differ. But I'm more curious about cities, for example. How do we connect in our local communities?
That's interesting.
Do we talk to our neighbors? How often do we talk to our neighbors? How many of our neighbors have you interacted with the last month?
Yeah, likewise, I think there are all kinds of communities around different interests and organizations. Like, for example, most cities have multiple libraries, and so there are communities of people around libraries that come there for books, but sometimes some social events. But I wonder if there was a way to sort of connect them in some ways through a software like yours. Like I would like to connect with people who belong to the same library that I kind of bump into but never talk to because of social norms. How about geography? So what countries have you been selling or getting more subscribers from at this time? Is it all European, Scandinavian, global? I assume language is an issue too. I'm not sure if your program operates only in English.
We are primarily working in Europe, primarily in English, but we have recently added a couple of languages for the chatbot. So training both to speak a couple of different languages. So our goal is to make it truly multilingual with all the major global languages. But we are a small team. So our primary market is the UK, but it's a solution that can be easily deployed and used all around the world. Just as we are using Differ now.
Like it doesn't require people on the ground, right? Like if the university,
yeah, not at all. So it's possible to sell and implement in the country all around the world. So we're looking at, we're doing some research on the research that all the students are doing here now. So we can get some insights from the market research to select kind of core markets going forward, which could be Australia or US or other similar big markets. So yeah.
What is your current marketing strategy? How do you advertise at this time? How does it work? I mean, obviously one of the big questions for the students is to come up with ideas for how to advertise it better. But what do you use now? And maybe what have you learned, like what works, what doesn't?
So what we've utilized so far is kind of an cold outreach, doing some research on individual universities, trying to identify stakeholders, give them a call, introduce Differ to them, and so on. And we also have been involved in a number of research projects that kind of builds up our credibility as an academic partner. So that has also given us good introductions. But I must say that what we're exploring now is really how can we really build not just a globally available product, but also how do we build a global organization? So I'm really curious to see if students are interested in being part of this mission to build the next generation of student communities, to see if we can build a global ambassador network with local representatives, students, perhaps ex-culture students participating in the project.
Can you elaborate on that?
How that can help us grow.
Can you please elaborate on that? Because I'm sure many students would like to take on the task. I mean, we have here thousands of students, literally thousands this semester. And so I assume many of them would like to sort of, engage in some way. It may be a good opportunity for them to learn, to gain some practical experience. And so what exactly would they need to do to help you on that front? How would it work?
Yeah, so I mean, students can help in many different ways here, and I really want to create work opportunity for not just in the privileged countries like Norway, where there's almost no unemployment rates, but if we can have some impact on employability of students worldwide, that would be such an awesome thing. So we're just exploring this now to learn how can we create some valuable experiences. And that might be just being part of a global community of students where, for example, you can help with developing the product by giving feedback on prototypes. And we've been getting some great great feedback from students now, both on branding and how we best can match students with each other, and also. So that's one track of product development where we, just by engaging with each other, students might learn how this whole process works. But then also in terms of growth and sales, I think having ambassadors locally, it can really lower the barrier for us to get in touch with a university in Australia, for example, or the US or in other countries, and having a student knock on the door of staff members might help to get that first meeting with someone, or building that awareness about the problem and that there's a new alternative solution for this. So I think
do I hear you correctly? So you're open to internship or employment-based collaboration, right? So if students bring good ideas, interesting ideas for that form of collaboration, you are open to the idea of literally some form of an employment or partnership or other kind of engagement where money exchanges hands, essentially. That's what I mean.
Yeah, absolutely.
Very good. But then you're also open to what that collaboration might look like, right? So students can even come up with their own model, as you said, like local ambassador or representatives or some other form.
Yeah. So we don't have all the answers.
Right.
So that's the fun part. And the fun part here is that kind of starting companies today, it's all about rapid experimentation. So you try something and then you see if it works. And you try something else, building on what you learn, and then it's about that pace. And then hopefully we can find some patterns and something that works, and that will allow us to grow really fast globally.
One last question, the technical one. You are able and interested in giving students access to the platform so that they can test drive it. Is that correct?
Absolutely.
And so how would it work? Can you explain to us how exactly would it work? I know we tried it last semester, but so for the students listening now, so how do they get access to sort of test the system and see if they can come up with some, interesting
So I think that's really important that everyone download the updated Differ challenge. I think
and I have the updated
published on the website. So on the first page there is a couple of instructions on how to join the Differ community. And
so let me see just to make sure that I have. So are you talking about this part?
Yeah, exactly. So Differ is invite only. So that's why we have created the X-Culture community. So everyone needs to go in here following the link or take your phone and scan the QR code.
So they would click on the link or the barcode and that's where it goes, right?
Yep. And then you first need to join the community and then you can download and get into Differ.
And then you can test it, you can see how it works. And Okay.
So that's really important that everyone does that.
And this is available to everyone, not only to the students who choose Differ as the client company, right? So as they're trying to decide now, anyone can try, right?
Yeah. So I realized right now that I plan to create a kind of a demo community that everyone can share if they want to invite others to try it out. They can also do that.
Even better.
I would like for all the participants to join this community, and then we have a shared place where I can give updates, or we can anyone can ask questions at any time, and we can support you there. And that would be a kind of a modern collaboration experience.
Actually, that's good for X-Culture too, because we don't really provide a platform for students from different teams to get to know each other. So maybe this would be an interesting opportunity for them to connect with people from outside their own team.
So I think there's already 300 students that have joined the community.
Oh, even better.
So I really hope that everyone just take a minute and download this.
Encourage everyone to give it a try.
Yeah. And
All
then
right, so
something that I want to bring up as well is the clarification on the on the user research that we are asking students to do here in the first section of the challenge. And last time we asked students to create their own survey, but this time, since we are so many students and teams collaborating here, we need a way to aggregate all the data that comes back from
that's very
from people
true.
we are interviewing or asking to give us feedback. So we have prepared a survey
This one
that
here?
is linked up here.
Okay, yeah, that's very good. That's true. And for the students, again, just to clarify, so most of the companies ask for doing some market research, talking maybe to friends or talking to potential buyers and, figuring out what they want or how things go. And then the challenge is that each team presents the information in a different format in the report itself. Aggregating it together is a huge, tremendous task. So it sounds like here we have a centralized survey where you can put all that information, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So when
so this is the link that students can share also with their friends. Like, hey, John,
yes.
can you complete the survey for me? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And once that is done, then we can share survey results back to students and or the different teams, and then you can do kind of your own analysis on the results.
Yeah. Okay, so you have all the information here. Yeah, very good. Yeah, that makes sense. I think it will make it easier for you to then to process the data, and it will be more usable and not go to waste. Very good.
So I also want to, like last semester, we had something we learned as a company is that it is now validated that the students across the world are experiencing a similar problem of getting to know each other when they start university. So that is an important validation for us. Now we want to kind of, if you should focus a little bit extra on something, we really want to learn about how we can sell this to universities.
Yeah.
That's kind of the really important part this semester for us.
That makes sense. All right. Okay. Well, I suggest we stop here. So students, those watching now or watching later, if you have any questions as you start working on the challenge, you can always email them to us. We will relay them to Lars. And then once the answers are available, we will send them back to you. And,
or ask directly in the Differ channel.
Oh yeah, go directly, exactly. So this one, this company actually is different from the other ones that it's available, the company founder is available to you just about at any time through the Differ.Chat itself, which is very convenient. So yes. Yeah. Okay, well, thank you so much, Lars. Have a nice day, I guess, in your time zone.
Yeah, thank you all for participating.
Yeah, and of the day, and let's hope the students bring you a lot of interesting ideas and business leads, and maybe even some will join the team as employees or local representatives.
That would be awesome.
Yeah. All right. Okay. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Have a nice day, everyone.
You too. Bye-bye.